This is Kevin with Spirit of Twilight again. I come to you with another book review. This one is a book on productivity. It is a number one New York Times bestseller. It is by Mark Manson, and the book itself, although it may be a turn off for a lot of people, it's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And this book, I loved it. I absolutely, positively loved it. Um, I have it downloaded on my Kindle, though I didn't actually get a chance to show you a paper copy of it, but I am going to go through some of the contents of what you can expect. I will say this though, the first chapter, um, which is about don't try, and based on the actual book itself, the subtle art of not giving a fuck, that's the first chapter. The S bomb is dropped religiously in the first chapter. Um, so if you can stomach that kind of wording for one chapter, you're good to go. The rest of the book is actually pretty cool. So, but the whole thing with don't try is it has something to do with the history of people trying, and he goes into a, I can't remember the name of the person, but it was a gentleman that kept trying to write books and do art and so on and so forth, and he never became famous for it until after he passed away. Well, being that he wasn't successful within his lifetime with his own art and his writing, he just kept doing it, even though people wouldn't like it and he couldn't get any publishers to publish his books. Um, but that's the part of realizing and understanding why you shouldn't give a fuck, is because of the fact that you have to keep doing what you're doing, keep working out what you're doing, and simply not giving a crap. That's a nice word compared to the rest of the book, but not giving a rat's ass, if you would, about anything about what other people are thinking. What's really interesting about this book, too, he does speak a lot about Western civilization here in the United States and how people think, and how people in the United States are constantly trained to think a certain way and act a certain way and be polite all the time, even though they're not saying what is on their mind. And that is the big takeaway from this book, is you need to go with the flow of your own intentions towards what you want, what you desire, what you feel is right from wrong, and don't close your mouth. Just say whatever is on your mind. And the reason for that is because he feels that there is a deep problem with honesty in this country because of all this brainwashing of, oh, you shouldn't say this or you shouldn't say that, or a religion has shut you down because a religion says you can't say this or you can't do that, or your parents or your upbringing and the people around you, oh, don't do this, don't do that, it's wrong, it's not nice, it's not polite. He's teaching you to be yourself and to be you, and explains what's wrong with not doing so. You're holding yourself back. So this book was tremendously helpful from a personal standpoint and can help so many people. As a matter of fact, the reason why I picked up this book is because of two other YouTubers, Matt Diavella and also Thomas Frank, both recommended this book. And I have to say, I'm glad I bought it because it was such a good read. It's not disappointing. It's definitely something that is not taken lightly and should be taken very deeply. So, going into the chapters itself, the chapter one is Don't Try, as I already mentioned. Um, he goes into the feedback loop from hell, which is basically do's and don'ts of what people say or do or not say or do or what you're supposed to do. The subtle art of not giving a fuck, obviously, the name of the book. And then his other portion of chapter one is, so Mark, what the fuck is the point of this book anyway? Well, that's why he goes into Western civilization, so on and so forth, about how we act and how we behave and how we dictate ourselves to the world and other people. Chapter 2 says happiness has a problem. And what's really good about this, he came up with a character called Disappointment Panda. So this goes into the misadventures of Disappointment Panda. Disappointment Panda is an actual character that he created in order to help people get right on track again, or get back on track again. So he's saying how happiness comes from solving problems, because problems will arise at any point in your life. And once you resolve a problem or you fix a problem, unfortunately, there may be another one soon coming thereafter. So happiness comes from solving problems and not putting yourself into a happy mindset continuously, because not only are you damaging yourself, but you're damaging your own life. So he's also said emotions are overrated within this chapter, and we all choose to struggle if we decide to remain in that happiness mindset. Um, it's just unreal how he words things. It makes so much sense. Now, chapter 3 goes into you are not special. And this, I'm sorry, that makes me laugh because I think of all the the kids that have grown up recently. I'm not pointing any generations, but I am Generation X, so I'm not a boomer. But basically, it says you're not special, meaning that the way that kids have been brought up with, oh, you get a certificate for doing this, you get a certificate for doing that, we're celebrating you doing this, we're celebrating you doing that, to the point of the fact that if you don't do well at something, you're still getting celebrated, you're still getting a certificate, you're still getting toys, you're still getting presents, you're still getting praise for something that isn't supposed to be praised for. So you learn from your mistakes and how to correct yourself. Um, he goes into things fall apart within chapter 3 as well. The tyranny of an exceptionalism, which goes into, again, the children aspect that I just mentioned. And then it says, but, I'm not going to be special or extraordinary. What's the point? That is the point. The point is you're supposed to live your life as you feel you should, without expecting something in return of gratitude from others. And that's a terrific point. You give yourself to others, but never expect anything in return. Chapter 4 goes into the value of suffering, and he goes into Buddhism and he goes into the Buddha. Um, he talks about the self awareness onion, how we all have layers and we peel away, so on and so forth. He goes into rockstar problems, and rockstar problems is in relation to um, there was a band member of a very popular band. They became famous. It was heavy metal back in the 80s, and he was kicked out of the band just as they signed their first record. So he created his own band. He was very angry, and unfortunately, he never got over the fact that he was kicked out of the band. He still dwelled on the fact that he was kicked out of the band, in which that band became more successful than his newfound band. So he never really found the happiness because he basically has shitty values. And that's the next section of chapter 4 is shitty values. So if you have really crappy values that you don't adhere with, or you don't see in your life, your expectations are set too high, um, you're constantly comparing yourself to someone else, those are shitty values that he's talking about. So when it comes to the shitty values, you want to change them to something that is attainable by you, and of course something that would be very realistic, such as realistic goals, or um, like I do bullet journaling, and I have small goals, larger goals, long-term goals, so on and so forth. And then he also goes into defining good values from bad values. So that's chapter 4. Chapter 5 goes into you're always choosing, which means you have to make a choice, you have responsibility, and you have to accept your fault fallacy, if it comes down to that. How you do respond to tragedy when it does come up. Genetics and the hand that we're dealt basically talks about your life. And if you have constant problems like illnesses, or you have a pretty much a death sentence, he goes into how other people have helped those on death row in prison, and how he brought forth, or they brought forth rather, a more positive insight based on their living now in the present, and not looking towards what's coming in the future, because they would no longer be around. He also goes into victimhood cheek. So it talks about how people victimize themselves and take advantage of you and so on and so forth, and how to avoid those people, how to identify them, most importantly. And then there is no how. So basically, life at this point is a guessing game, but you have to still make decisions in the long process or the long run. Chapter 6 goes into you're wrong about everything, but so am I. He talks about architects, how we are, about our own beliefs, the dangers of pure certainty, Manson's law of avoidance, kill yourself, interesting, and how to be a little less certain of yourself. So this is talking about going in deeper, and to me, this is pretty much the psychology of shadow work. And shadow work is where you dig deep in yourself and you find your values, you find how to build yourself up. Why are you avoiding certain things? So that's something else you want to look at as well in chapter 6, which is very valuable. Chapter 7 goes into failure is the way forward. We all know that. I run a small business. I understand that completely. If I fail at something, if I make something wrong, if something gets shipped to my customer and it shows up broken, that's a failure to me. But you learn from it. So I send out another item if it's broken and apologize to the customer, of course, just to keep the clientele. And of course, they're usually a personal friend. What you're also looking at is the failure and success parado. So you're looking and you're weighing out on a scale the difference between the two. Pain is part of the process, so don't ignore your feelings when it comes to the entire process of going through the frustrations of failure, because failure is, again, a part of the process. So the do something principle. This is very important because the do something principle is acknowledging the fact that if you're doing absolutely nothing, you're accomplishing nothing. If you do something, even though you're not accomplishing anything, you're still doing something which may spark an interest, and therefore that interest will lead you to do something successful. So that's where that comes from. Chapter 8 is the importance of saying no. Some people, I'm not one of them, can't say no. And the importance of saying no is it makes yourself more desirable in more than one way. The importance of saying no basically makes you look like you're putting yourself first, which is what this book is all about. But it also allows you to look at rejection, makes your life better. So as if you say no to one thing to one person because you always say yes, well, guess what? They may start to realize, hey, this person actually has a life of their own. That's an idea that pretty profound. You want to set boundaries. You want to build trust. And I'm reading all this in the chapters that he has in here. Freedom through commitment. So commitment to yourself, to be free, to have free thoughts, free action, so on and so forth, is definitely imperative. And chapter 9, which is the last chapter, says, and then you die. So we have to remember that even though our lifespan in our mortal state comes to an end, something else is beyond ourselves. So the sunny side of death, which is the last portion of the last chapter 9, is it depends on what you believe in your heart, in your soul, what you desire, so on and so forth. So if you are a religious fanatic and you believe that you're going to heaven or hell, or you get sent to purgatory, great, that's wonderful. For me, I believe in reincarnation. So in other portions of other religions or beliefs, I should say, as a general idea, some things that I read, such as in the occult, so on and so forth, some religions or religion aspects or beliefs believe that there are actually other planes of existence. There's 15 of them, and you may go to another plane once you die, which to me is the same thing as reincarnation. So, that's the book. And the book is, again, a fantastic read. I recommend it for everybody. Everybody. Maybe nobody under the age of 18 because of the word fuck. But hey, go fuck yourself. Anyway, so... Ipsy. So anyway, the subtle heart, I'm not giving a fuck. It is a great book, and I'm going back to the original page so I can show you it again right in the video. While I'm doing so, if you do like this video, please by all means give it a like. Go ahead and click on subscribe. I'm currently trying to reach my wonderful goal of 100 subscribers. And believe it or not, at this point, as far as this book is concerned and this idea, I give a fuck about 100 subscribers. So, I'm looking for 100 subscribers so I can change my generic name on YouTube to Spirit of Twilight. That would be phenomenal. So, anyway, this is the video for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care, be well, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.